Now, a literate person will often tell you that technology has catalyzed the advancement of humans, whereas Indian parents would like to perceive technology as a medium of showcasing how different colors, weird text, and images can calibrate themselves just to share that one message on WhatsApp: good morning and have a good day. With butterflies flying over the text and glaring red Jatak rose popping out of that image, yes, I'm talking to you about that weird fetish that every Indian parents have of sending good morning and good night images on our family WhatsApp groups. You are listening to my podcast series और बता ईशान. आइए तो करते हैं चर्चा एक टेक्नोलॉजी के ऊपर, कैसे नए नए ट्रेंड्स भारत में उजागर हो रहे हैं. सुनते हैं पूरा पॉडकास्ट. टेक्नोलॉजी हमारी लाइफ में वो तड़का है जिसके बिना लाइफ की दाल गलती तो है लेकिन स्वाद नहीं देती. इंस्टाग्राम तो है लेकिन भयानक ट्रेंड्स नहीं देती. एल्गोरिदम है लेकिन फील नहीं देती. टिकटॉक तो है लेकिन
भाई टिकटॉक बैन हो गया भाई शान.
टिकटॉक बैन हो चुका है भाई, ऐसे मत देख.
थैंक यू. Now, if you're talking about technology, machines, management, startup, then becoming successful comedians, then I guess it's a no-brainer. We are talking about engineers. This is the actual life journey of an engineer. But कुछ कुछ सालों में trends बदलते हैं. Technological advancements are really good and they should happen after every few years. But have you noticed one thing? With every new technology or solutions, the use of syllables has gone for a toss. जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं हम लेटर्स के साथ भी परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन खेल रहे हैं, लाइक CD, DVD, AI, ML and now IoT. These advancements have a profound impact on our lifestyles, education, how businesses run, and even how governments function. But today's episode is all about another buzzword which is making rounds in news and elsewhere in the world, which is called IoT. This is Internet of Things. This is a game-changing solution, and to discuss more about the use cases, practical exposure, to know more about this concept, I have an entrepreneur who is a successful one and the master of IoT. He runs a startup called IoTfy. In conversation with Arpit Chhabra. Listen for more. Hello, hi Arpit. कैसे हो आप? What's up?
वेरी वेल ईशान, वेरी वेल. बहुत अच्छा है. तुम बताओ कैसे हो भाई?
Absolutely fine. How are you feeling today? What's been up?
Normal day यार. I mean, we were working, so although it's a Janmashtami, but we were working today.
Oh.
Just came back and happy to have a good conversation with you.
Same here. And thank you so much, Arpit, for speaking to all of us and simplifying IoT for us. Now, in my intro, I touched upon this fact that parents love sending their kids to Akash and Fidjis of the world. इतनी छोटी सी उम्र में 6th स्टैंडर्ड में होंगे तब भेज देंगे उनको. लगता है कि अब तो जेई मेंस एडवांस सब फोड़ देगा लड़का. तो आप एक इंजीनियर हो, यू आर अ पेरेंट ऑल्सो. टेल मी, ये जो परसेप्शन है पेरेंट्स का, ये क्या सही परसेप्शन है? What do you feel about it?
You see, in my worldview, I feel parents should let their kids explore a few things before putting them into certain trades or certain courses which they may or may not like in the future. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि यार 9th 10th 11th 12th, I mean ये exploratory classes है. People should get serious by the time they are, let's say, in middle of their 11th. But before that, I think it's too much of pressure on the kids to just follow what their parents want them to do. So ideally, I mean, if I talk about my kids, I give them a lot of liberty. कि यार ये भी try कर, वो भी try कर. See where you find their synergies, where you find that passion coming out. So I mean, I do not see a lot of value in people pushing their kids with extra classes in, let's say, Akash or Fidjis or any other competitive coaching institutes. I mean, in as early as 6th class, 7th class, 8th class. So I'm not a fan of that.
No, I totally get you. In my intro, I also said that, that average engineer's life now, and kids who aspire to become engineers nowadays, they have a clear and crisp thought view, in the
Mhm.
sense that पाँचवीं के बाद हम लोग आईआईटी के लिए तैयारी करेंगे, 10वीं में कोटा जाएंगे, 12वीं के बाद आईआईटी जाएंगे, उसके बाद आईआईएम, पसंद नहीं आया तो कॉमेडियन बन जाएंगे. तो ये एक वर्ल्ड व्यू सा एक जो होता है ना, वो बना हुआ है.
Right.
बट आई थिंक एक बजवर्ड है जो कि इट्स अराउंड एवरीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड, इन इंडिया, एंड इट
Mhm.
इज़ कॉल्ड आईओटी. ये
Mhm.
आईओटी है क्या?
Mhm.
Can you just simplify that for all of us? For example, if I were to tell this to my parents or my niece or my nephews कि
Mhm.
IoT एक करके टेक्नोलॉजी एक सोल्यूशन है, तो उसको
Mhm.
सिंप्लीफाइड वर्जन में IoT कैसे समझा सकते हैं हम?
So let me give a shot at this. यार normally internet हर कोई समझता है कि it is a medium for people to interact, to exchange things, to exchange ideas, to exchange emails, messages, so that they are connected, right? Now,
Absolutely.
Internet of Things. So just imagine these are things which are sending out some information which can create value for a lot of use cases or business cases. अगर बहुत एलिमेंट्री तरीके से बात करूं, जैसे आज की डेट में स्मार्ट लाइट्स अवेलेबल हैं, मतलब आप अमेजोन पे जाओगे, सर्च करोगे स्मार्ट एलईडी बल्ब, आपको बहुत तरीके के एलईडी बल्ब मिलते हैं. तो वो कर क्या रहा है? एक्चुअली दैट बल्ब इज अ थिंग. Once it is connected to the internet, it is able to get controlled via a mobile application, and it can also send out an information कि अभी जो मेरा कलर है वो इस कलर के ऊपर सेट हूं मैं, या मेरी ब्राइटनेस जो है इस ब्राइटनेस के ऊपर सेट है. So essentially, I mean, this is a very laymannish example. Another example that I can take is there are smart ACs these days. Okay, so अगर AC जो है इंटरनेट से कनेक्ट कर दूं मैं, और वो आपको अपना एरर कोड पहले ही बता दे. लेट्स से कि इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन प्रॉब्लम कि एसी की गैस जो है वो लीक हो जाती है, राइट? And it causes a lot of discomfort to the person who has installed an AC, and he was expecting that once he's back from work he would be able to enjoy, get comfort sitting in an AC. Now if during the day there was a gas leakage, and if the AC is able to, let's say, send out a notification that there is something which is not working fine at my end and I require a service. So that's a utility कि एसी अपने आप बता दे, क्योंकि वो इंटरनेट से कनेक्टेड है, कि मेरी गैस लीक हो गई है, सर्विस बुक कर दो. या बेटर स्टिल, इट इज एबल टू बुक अ सर्विस बाय इटसेल्फ,
Okay.
so that the company who has provided you that AC is able to align a service engineer so that they can come and attend to your service request, and you do not face that downtime of that air conditioner. So
Okay.
so typically, Internet of Things is wherein things in our day-to-day lives are able to talk to uh, the end user. They are able to talk to the businesses so that they can report what is happening at their site. तो इसमें दो चीजें हैं, एक कंट्रोल एस्पेक्ट है, एक मॉनिटरिंग एस्पेक्ट है. एज अ एंड यूजर, लेट्स से you buy yourself a smart AC, you will be able to use multiple endpoint applications. These could be your mobile applications that you would install on your Android or iOS phone, जिसको यूज करके you can control your AC, you can set timers, schedulers कि मैं ऑफिस से इस समय आता हूँ, तो शेड्यूल सेट ये होता है कि let's say you come in from your work at 8 o'clock. You say 15 minutes before I come in, let's say 7:45, I want my AC to automatically get started, so that 15 minutes it creates that comfortable temperature for me, and I'm able to enjoy when I'm back home. So you can create those schedulers. That's a control kind of functionality.
Okay.
And monitoring is wherein the AC by itself is saying that I have some problem which needs to be serviced, so that the downtime is minimized. So I have just taken example of a couple of household appliances which are used by everyone. अगर थोड़ा इसको broader spectrum में ले जाऊं, for example, you have your power grid, ठीक है? Power grid जो distribution है वो कैसे चलता है कि there are a lot of transformers which are stepping up, stepping down your voltages so that distribution can be made seamlessly. अगर transformer में कुछ खराबी है, right? And if that transformer is able to send out a notification to the people who are going to fix that problem, So downtime of a particular area would get reduced because ट्रांसफॉर्मर ने पहले ही प्रिवेंटिवली बता दिया कि मेरे को सर्विस चाहिए, मेरे को रिपेयर चाहिए.
Hmm.
So IoT, I mean, if I have to sum it up, things are able to talk to their concerned people, and they are able to provide notifications. They are ready to get controlled so that multiple business cases or use cases can be materialized.
Okay, okay. So you mean, if I can also think correctly, is that things are just speaking to humans in the sense that मुझे repair चाहिए. For example, if I set my timings of air condition as well, so things are speaking to me, and they are actually helping me to better my lifestyle and to even for my comfort as well.
Right. I mean, that's a use case that you're talking about. Your use case is I want more comfort, right?
Okay, okay. And can IoT be this? Light जल गई.
हाँ, इट कैन बी बिकॉज देखो आईओटी को क्या चाहिए, दो चीजें हैं कुल मिला के, मतलब कंट्रोल और मॉनिटरिंग. कंट्रोल के ऊपर राइट नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि आप ऐप से कंट्रोल कर लो. देन वी ऑल्सो हैव वॉइस असिस्टेंट्स लाइक गूगल होम, एलेक्सा,
Hmm.
जिसके ऊपर इफ आई से हे गूगल स्विच ऑन माय एसी, टर्न टेम्परेचर टू 23, ओके,
Hmm. Hmm.
so that's utility. Now if I create one more device which is going to look out for a clap, and that is an input to the device, and that device has to fire a message back to the AC that whenever you hear clap,
Hmm.
turn it on because my owner wants to switch on the AC, right?
Got it. Got it.
So what is happening in this case is one device talking to another device. I have received a clap sound. You must switch on. So basically, again, interconnected things, and it is materializing a convenience use case for you.
Awesome. This is quite interesting. This is actually very interesting. I mean, this is something that I personally never thought of, and सुन के ही इतना ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है. क्या ये कभी किसी ह्यूमन नेचर या किसी बिहेवियर को पहले से प्रीएम्प्ट कर पाता है क्या?
सी डिपेंड करता है यार. अब देखो, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ केसेस जहाँ पे हम बहुत सारा सेंसर्स का यूज करते हैं. वी पुट इन अ सेंसर नेटवर्क एज वेल. नाउ लेट्स से if I talk about a use case of using IoT in hospitals, okay,
Hmm.
uh, every patient is not attended to because ऐसा तो नहीं है कि नर्स या डॉक्टर पेशेंट के साथ में ही खड़ा होगा.
Hmm.
Let's say if I put in your SpO2 sensor, which is let's say internet connected. अब अगर मेरे को पता है कि एंड एज अ डॉक्टर और एज अ नर्स और एज अ केयर टेकर आई सेट इन रूल्स, इफ द SpO2 falls let's say below 92, I need to get a notification on one of my mobile applications. Or there could be another device जहाँ पे वो siren बजा दे, ठीक है.
Okay.
Another rule could be let's say if it falls down below 80, it should bombard with a lot of messages, or the sirens sound should be on the highest level. So you can think of use cases. IoT is just a I would say means to your use cases. Okay.
Okay. All right.
You talked about कि preempt कर ले. Now if we have the right sensors to execute our use case, yes, it can preempt that.
ऑल राइट, ऑल राइट. सो आई मीन वो दिन भी आई एम श्योर दूर नहीं जब IoT ये भी बता दे कि किसी की गर्लफ्रेंड किसी की वाइफ का क्या मूड है आज, और जब वो कह देती है कि गो हैव फन तो
Quite
IoT को भी
possible.
बता देगा.
Quite possible. Quite possible. There are a lot of use cases that are happening these days.
एब्सोल्युटली. सो कमिंग टू द डिजिटल डिवाइड दैट वी हैव इन इंडिया, तो एक डिजिटल डिवाइड है हमारे बीच में, दैट एक रूरल एरिया के अंदर फॉर एग्जांपल क्या IoT का कोई यूज़ केस ऐसा हो सकता है ताकि हम लोग IoT वहाँ पे भी लगा सकें, या फिर इस IoT के यूज़ केस को उन तक पहुँचने में कितना टाइम लगेगा?
यार IoT के यूज केसेस अभी भी बहुत सारे हैं जो कि रूरल इंडिया में चलते हैं. आई कैन गिव यू सम एग्जांपल्स. जैसे देयर आर अ फ्यू कंपनीज जो कि सोलर पावर प्रोवाइड करती हैं इन विलेजेस व्हिच आर नॉट कनेक्टेड विद आवर इलेक्ट्रिकल ग्रिड.
ओके.
सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि इन लोगों ने IoT डिवाइसेस बनाए हैं. इनके लिए IoT इज देयर सोलर पैनल्स. टिपिकली होता ये है कि जो विलेजर है वो रिचार्ज कराता है लेट से 500 रुपए का, ठीक है. अब उसको ये पता है कि 500 रुपए के रिचार्ज के ऊपर मेरे को इतने यूनिट बिजली मिलेगी, ठीक है. अगर वो रिचार्ज नहीं कराता है तो व्हाट दीज गाइज डू इज कि उसकी मतलब रिमोटली विदाउट गोइंग टू, बिकॉज उसके ऊपर सोलर पैनल तो चल ही रहा है, राइट? और उसके ऊपर लाइट भी बन, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी भी बन रही है, बट
Absolutely.
रिमोटली दे कैन कट इट ऑफ कि रिचार्ज इज रिक्वायर्ड, ठीक है? इन दैट केस व्हाट दिस गाय हैज टू डू इज कि जो उसका लोकल विलेज का बंदा है वहां पे फॉर दैट कंपनी, he goes and recharges that, and he's able to get a seamless supply of electricity. So this is one use case. Other than that, IoT, if I talk about, since India is pretty big on agriculture, right? A lot of things which are happening on the agriculture side as well. Agriculture side के ऊपर we have seen a couple of use cases wherein regional data जो है with respect to कि soil के अंदर moisture कितना है, so these are like sensing devices which have been put in so that once you accumulate that data, you're able to make recommendations for the kind of crops that would do well in a particular region.
Okay.
Now, historically ये कैसे होता रहा है कि there were surveyors who would go from village to village, they would check certain parameters of the soil, and they would come back and then create their own data logs, and वो मतलब वो process जो है वो 2-3 साल का है कि आप एक एरिया में जाते हो और आप उसका बताते हो कि आप यहाँ पे ये उगाओ तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा. Now with IoT, with these smart sensors coming into play, this span has reduced to a couple of months only. So there are use cases जो कि रूरल इंडिया में चल रहे हैं, बट अगेन इंडिया वर्क्स एट अ वेरी स्लो पेस. तो फंडा वही है यार कि मतलब एनीथिंग फॉर यू टू सी सब्सटैंशियल रिजल्ट्स यू हैव टू वेट 2 decades.
ठीक है, आई थिंक this is quite interesting, and the use cases as such are also very 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 profound, I would say, in making our lifestyle easy. इसमें आई थिंक आई जस्ट वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम यू, IoT इंडिया के अंदर कितने साल हो चुके होंगे आया होगा अभी?
यार IoT देखो, ये इट्स अ मार्केटिंग गिमिक in terms of coining a new term for something which has been existing.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you a walkthrough of automation is something which is IoT, because if I talk about industries which are very heavy on manufacturing, let's say Maruti Suzuki has been doing a lot of production for their cars, etc. In Delhi. They started their production in 1984.
Okay.
Now, a lot of their machines talk to each other, right? So M2M is machine to machine communication, which has been happening. Because अगर मेरे को एक मैं पूरी की पूरी असेंबली लाइन चला रहा हूँ, ठीक है, मैं जिसमें कार्स को पेंट कर रहा हूँ, तो जो रोबोट नंबर 1 है, जहाँ पे वो पेंट छोड़ रहा है, उसे पता है कि उसको मशीन 2 को बताना है कि बॉस मैंने यहाँ तक काम कर दिया, ठीक है, so that machine 2 can take care of the remaining portion and so on. Machine 3 आगे वाले portion को देखे. तो M2M is nothing but automation which was used wherein machines were talking. IoT के अंदर हुआ क्या कि there are a lot of communication media that got unearthed. Because इससे पहले क्या हो रहा था, सारी की सारी जो कम्युनिकेशन थी वो वायर के ऊपर हो रही थी, ठीक है. अब वायर के ऊपर कम्युनिकेशन के ऊपर अगर आप बोलो ऑटोमेशन चलती है, हाँ चलती है. नाउ IoT जब पिक्चर में आता है तो उसमें क्या हुआ, व्हेन वी गॉट वाईफाई इनटू इक्वेशन, व्हेन वी गॉट GSM इनटू इक्वेशन, तो ये सब कुछ वायरलेस हो गया. अब उस केस में क्या है कि लेट्स से आई हैव अ स्मार्ट लैम्प इन माय होम, तो दिस इज वर्किंग ऑन वाईफाई, तो मेरे को कुछ तार डालने की जरूरत नहीं है उसको चलाने के लिए या उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए. तो शॉर्ट आंसर इज कि IoT इंडिया में एग्जिस्ट तो 1980s में भी करता था.
Okay.
बट उसमें वो IoT नहीं था, वो LAN था, ठीक है, लोकल एरिया में सारी कम्युनिकेशन चल रही थी. अब हुआ ये है कि WAN बन गया, वाइड एरिया नेटवर्क में आ गया, और कम्युनिकेशन जो है वायरलेस हो गई है, और यूज केसेस जो हैं वो एक नॉर्मल एंड कस्टमर के लिए भी निकल के आ गए.
गॉट इट. जब वो एंड कस्टमर के पास पहुंचा, आई थिंक एंड कस्टमर के पास पहुंचा जब वो, तब उन्हें समझ में आने लगा कि हाँ भाई कोई IoT नाम की भी एक चीज़ है, एक सोल्यूशन है, एक टेक्नोलॉजी है, एंड तभी आई थिंक वो ज़्यादा फोकस में भी आया.
एग्जैक्टली. और ऐसे बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस भी हैं जो कि मतलब IoT यूज नहीं कर पा रहे थे, बिकॉज अब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, ठीक है, उनका जितना भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो तो बहुत अलग अलग जगह पे पड़ा है. मतलब अगर दिल्ली की बात करता हूँ, एनडीपीएल है, बीएसीएस है, ठीक है। अब उनके कितने ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स हैं जो कि कहाँ कहाँ, मतलब डिपेंडिंग ऑन एरिया, कहीं पे ज्यादा है कहीं पे कम है। अब अगर मैं वहां पे सेंसर नेटवर्क लगाता हूँ और ये बताता हूँ कि यार इस ट्रांसफॉर्मर का डाउन टाइम आने वाला है, तो इसको सर्विस कर लो, बिकॉज आपका एंड कस्टमर जिसको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी चाहिए वो डिस्टर्ब नहीं होगा, ठीक है। तो अब ये कन्वीनियंट ज्यादा इसलिए हो गया बिकॉज ये सब कुछ जीएसएम पे चल रहा है, मतलब आपके नॉर्मल 2G 3G 4G पे चल रहा है। अगर यही चीज मैं 5 साल 10 साल पहले बोलता कि यार सारी वायर्स डाल दो, वो आपके एक कॉमन सेंट्रल हब में जाएंगी, तो दैट इज अ बिग टास्क इन इट सेल्फ. So what IoT has done is these wireless communication technologies coming into picture with sensors which were already there. So this combination has made use cases more feasible now.
All right, all right. And how are we faring in terms of the other parts of the country? How are we faring in terms of how the developed nations have come up with certain technologies, use cases? Is India also going there?
Mhm. Yeah, देखो, if I talk about IoT or any technology that comes into play, any new technology, from businesses, it's only about ROI, कि return on investment कैसा है, कब आ रहा है मेरे पास में. Now, if I talk about developed nations, वहाँ पे मैन पावर तो एक्सपेंसिव है ही है, ठीक है. और utilities like electricity or gas, water, etc. इंडिया में तो ये है कि रीडिंग करने के लिए देयर आर पीपल हु कम टू योर प्लेस एवरी मंथ, दे टेक रीडिंग्स एंड गो बैक. Now, if I talk about the US or if I talk about a lot of countries in Europe, so what these guys have done is these guys have created smart meters. So these smart meters are connected wirelessly to their backends. These are cloud backends. So typically, what will happen is कि every day or every hour they will report back कि this is my consumption. Let's say electricity के ऊपर इतना consumption हो गया मेरा. So वहाँ पे what do you save is कि if a person who is going to, let's say, charge X dollars per hour for the work that they do for that company, that gets saved. So metering is one use case. Utility metering is one use case that is doing very good in a lot of developed nations. In fact, I mean, we don't have to go very far. IGL, Indraprasth Gas Limited, they are now doing a pilot wherein they do not send meter readers to a lot of households because उन्होंने एक smart मॉड्यूल लगा दिया है जो कि कंजम्पशन रिपोर्ट करता है उनके बैकएंड के ऊपर, ठीक है.
Okay.
Similarly, if I talk about let's say BACS or NDPL, a lot of industrial electricity that they are providing to industrial areas in Delhi, all these are smart meters which are connected over 2G networks. So typically what happens is meter reader नहीं आता है वहाँ पे, automatically हर घंटे की electricity consumption की report they have it in their cloud backends. So
Okay.
use cases are multiple. ROI यहाँ पे इसलिए निकल के आ रहा है क्योंकि अगर मैं very simple mathematics if I do यार, कि मैं एक इलेक्ट्रिसिटी मीटर रीडर हूँ, ठीक है. एक दिन की 8 घंटे की शिफ्ट के अंदर लेट्स से कि मैं 50 घरों की रीडिंग ले पा रहा हूँ, ठीक है. और मेरी जो सैलरी है वो लेट्स से 30,000 रुपीज है, ठीक
Okay.
है. इसका मतलब ये है कि 1,000 रुपए खर्च करने के बाद में आपको 50 घरों की रीडिंग मिलती है. तो दैट मीन्स कि 20 रुपए की रीडिंग की कॉस्ट है आपकी,
ठीक है.
यही हुआ ना. अब अगर मैं आपको ये बोलूं कि IoT आप लगवा लो अपने मीटर के साथ में, हार्डवेयर की कॉस्ट X है, ठीक है, बट आपको मैं मंथली 5 रुपए लूंगा,
Okay.
तो दैट्स ROI, राइट. आप कैलकुलेट करोगे कि यार अगर हार्डवेयर डिवाइस ये मेरे से 500 रुपए का ले भी ले रहा है, मांग भी ले रहा है, और 5 रुपए की कॉस्ट के अंदर आई एम एबल टू गेट बेटर efficiency, repeatability in my process, and it is going to be very very cheaper in the longer run. I'll go in for that. When I'm talking about a use case जहाँ पे मैं Indian rupee में बात कर रहा हूँ, you can see the difference if I talk about a use case wherein I would be talking in terms of US dollars getting spent for taking reading of one particular household.
Got it. Got
So
it.
this is one use case. Another use case is, I mean, there are plenty of use cases. मतलब IoT is something जहाँ पे मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ ना, when internet came into picture, people were like कि इसका हम करेंगे क्या, humans, ठीक है. लोगों ने बोला यार ईमेल की क्या जरूरत है. 80s के अंदर people were like कि ईमेल की क्या जरूरत है. Now, can you imagine your life without WhatsApp? No. So
Absolutely not.
internet made WhatsApp possible. Now the use cases that we are talking about IoT are very elementary today. 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, you would not be able to imagine your life without connected devices.
एब्सोल्युटली एब्सोल्युटली एंड आई थिंक तब के टाइम पे जब हम जाएंगे 5 से 10 15 साल बाद आर पेरेंट्स वुड ऑल्सो गेट यूज टू दिस technology at and this would be very hands down technology to them as well, and they would also feel that ठीक है, just much like what happened with Facebook, WhatsApp and all the social media platforms. I think this will also become the new normal in future.
Absolutely. Convenience is something which is going to drive a lot of adoption.
Absolutely. Coming to the new normal, how was the impact of COVID-19 on this technology, on the solutions? I'm sure it must have accelerated, but if there is any sort of report or any sort of the gap that you could bridge after COVID.
So, yeah, actually, I would not like to give a very generalized answer. Uh, Let me just bucket into a few categories. अगर मैं एक category लेता हूँ home appliances और home automation की, now that has definitely increased. Reason ये है यार कि lockdown के दौरान a lot of people spent a lot of good time at their home. अब इससे पहले क्या हुआ करता था फॉर अ नॉर्मल वर्किंग गाय ही वुड लीव अर्ली ही वुड कम बैक इन द इवनिंग और मे बी कम बैक लेट एंड द अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम ही वाज एबल टू स्पेंड एट हिज और हर होम was very limited.
Absolutely.
During lockdowns people realized that convenience is something which is important, right? Because if I'm going to spend 24 hours sitting at home doing work and then addressing my personal stuff as well, I should be comfortable. What we saw was a lot of increase in demand with respect to IoT for home use cases. You talk about smart air conditioners, you talk about smart lighting, you talk about smart switches, Wi-Fi cameras which give you notifications if they see any person coming in their frame, etc. So that has definitely increased. Secondly, if I talk about from a enterprise standpoint, the use case that I just mentioned about metering, right? That has that has seen an increase. Reason being, because a lot of companies could not send their people on ground to do record what consumption has been, right?
Absolutely.
So that is something which is again that has increased. Third is preventive maintenance for mission critical or very essential services. For example, your electricity. A lot of states are currently doing pilots with respect to predicting if their transformers or grid requires any overhaul or preventive services, right? Because eventually what happened was that during this time frame, a lot of people could not make it on the ground. So these kind of data that gets collected because of your smart sensors and IoT coming into play, these kind of use cases definitely have increased.
Absolutely. So I think जैसे कि हमने पहले भी बोला, in 10-15 years down the line, I think we will see a huge uptake in IoT. ठीक है. Which brings me to the question that I have in mind of talent. What kind of talent attracts a person or you in particular, because you have a startup? आप कैसा एक एम्प्लॉई या कैंडिडेट को चूज़ करोगे और इसके लिए क्या उसको प्री रिक्विजिट होनी चाहिए?
Yeah, IoT, see, from a use case standpoint, from an implementation standpoint, sounds easy for an end user. ठीक है कि यार मैं ये करूंगा और ये हो जाएगा, ठीक है, या बिजनेस को पता है कि ऑटोमेटिकली मेरा ये ऑब्जेक्टिव सॉल्व हो जाएगा. बट it is a combination of multiple engineering traits. We work with people who are experienced on hardware designing. We work with people who are experienced on developing firmware that goes inside the hardware which has been designed. We also have people who work on the cloud side, cloud infrastructure, and we also have people who work on endpoint applications, wherein we build Android, iOS applications. We also build integrations for Google Home, Alexa. So it's a multidisciplinary skill set which is required. We do not expect one engineer to have all of these disciplines in them, right? So ideally, it's a team effort wherein we hire people from electronics background, both from hardware design and firmware aspects. We hire computer science grads for developing the backend infrastructure, which is the platform layer. We also hire computer science grads for building applications on iOS and Android. So multiple skills are there. The point is, the role of a product manager becomes very, very essential in this because that is the guy who sees what is happening in all of these put together.
Got it. I think I have everything that I want to know, and I think, and you have done a very, very, very fine job in explaining to all of us what IoT means in our day-to-day lives.
Mhm.
And thank you so much, Arpit. Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. Really, really appreciate. Uh,
Thank you
do
very
do
much.
do check out our YouTube video, which will be out on Sunday. And till then, I will catch up with you again. Thank you. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Ishan. Nice talking to you, man.
Same
Good one.
here. Bye bye.
Bye.
Now, this was my conversation with Arpit Chhabra, who could, in his words, simplify IoT for all of us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode. I am sure you must have loved it. If you have, then you have to do one thing, which is to share this with your friends, with your exes, with your colleagues, with your sapole dost. Subscribe kare. I will be coming out with episodes every now and then. Stay tuned for more.